That's what we did when we went to China. That's what we did when the Soviet Union collapsed, when we denuclearized Ukraine and Belarus. And that's a strategic responsibility of a global power. So that would be my comment on Iran.
Thank you. Would you like to respond with a second?
Sure. Okay. Although I might challenge Tolkien on both points a little bit, I'm not sure. I think it's a little early to speak about Iranian-American rapprochement. I'm glad we've moved past the language of mutual threats, but we'll have to see in a couple of weeks. The P5+1 and Iran reached this nuclear agreement to reassure the world that Iran has a nuclear program that is exclusively for peaceful purposes. That would be historic, and then I think we can start using terms like rapprochement. I certainly hope that will be the outcome. I would also take issue, I think, with the question about the foreign fighters transiting Turkey poisoning the relationship. Poison is a very strong problem. It is challenging the relationship, no question. It's a difficult problem that Turkey's struggling with, we're struggling with, and indeed all of Europe is. The legal authorities and states can bring to bear on stopping people transiting, identifying the ones that you don't want to enter your country, or having entered, what do you do with them? You want them to leave, probably, and never come back in again. We are grappling with that together and working hard. That's not the same thing as poisoning a relationship, even though, and I did acknowledge in the conversation you talked about that we have a different perspective on who inside Syria we're prepared to work with, but it's natural among allies to say, we know these people, we think you can work with them, we can, here's what we do. And we say, well, we don't know them well, but here's what we know and what we know we don't like. That kind of conversation goes on all the time. That's not a poisonous conversation. That's a healthy and constructive one I think we need to have. We can speak a lot about the Syria issue, but I tried to suggest earlier how exactly that kind of issue in the Syria conflict is what is bringing us together to grapple with the problem on the same side of the table, the problem on the opposite side of Turkey and the United States on this side. Doesn't mean we're going to agree that our preferred means of dealing with it is going to be ways that Turkey can't deal with it or will necessarily choose to deal with it, whether Kobani or foreign fighters or anything else. But there's a healthy, everyday discussion going on about how to deal with these things.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Does anybody from this side of the room have a question? Or is it exclusively over here? Well, I will save you for just 1 second. Thank you for putting your hand up. But the young woman here did beat you by a couple of minutes. Yes.
Hi. The new ambassador to Ankara, John Bass, had to admit in his Senate hearing that Turkey was drifting towards authoritarianism thanks to Senator McCain. Does that have an effect on the relationship? Is there a limit to American pragmatism when it comes to diplomatic relations with certain countries? To both of you.
All right. Thank you for the question. Whether this has the statement that was made during the confirmation hearings, whether this has, I think what you imply is a lingering effect on the bilateral relationship.
I'll be happy to try to answer that. The fact that Senator McCain asked that question is more important than the answer. He asked that question because there is a growing concern in the United States about Turkey, and I know that the embassy and the Turkish government, I've heard the ambassador speak, very actively engaged in trying to deal with those issues, but it would be false to say that those concerns don't exist, and they exist in a way that I think everybody acknowledges. So there's a long and very vibrant interlaced network of communications between the United States and Turkey, but this is an issue that affects the public perception of Turkey, and therefore it's an issue
Thank you. I think we'll have a last question from here.
Now?
Yes,
Thank you.
the microphone is coming.
Thank you.
I'm sure everybody is getting ready for dinner. I have to confess, my mother always told me that the mind can absorb only what the seat can endure. So let's have a brief question and a brief answer, and call it an evening.
Sir, you touched on Belarus and Ukraine. Please elaborate a little bit more on Turkey vis-a-vis Russia, Putin's Russia, and the United States of America, the triumvirate, so to speak, in that regard.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you for the question. The question was about Russia, Turkey, and the United States. I would have to say that I would not presume to try to speak for Turkey with respect to its relations with Russia. Those relations, I do know, are very beneficial economically. There is certainly a strong relationship in terms of energy in the energy sector. Russia is a neighbor. It's another Black Sea country. And so I think really for an explanation of Turkey's relationship with Russia, Turkey is the one to present its views. For the United States, of course, as we all know, we're having difficulty with Russia over their illegal and brazen annexation of Crimea, which is a violation of practically an arm's length of treaties. So this is the kind of behavior that also attracted a lot of interest in Turkey, who were concerned about the minority, the Tatar minority in Crimea, and rightly so. So in a world in which you have an acceptable accommodation of interest within a framework of international law, treaties, and behavior, Russia's behavior is unacceptable. And it will remain unacceptable, I'm sure, to the United States. But I also am sure that we will be talking with Turkey constantly about the issue and trying to resolve what to do about it. I'm proud to say that Russia and the United States cooperated very well in the denuclearization of Belarus and Ukraine. And that was a high moment in the relationship at that period in time. And I think now we can see that those steps helped enormously to stabilize Europe. So I've always believed, I still do believe, and I will always believe that Turkey and the United States have enormous potential to bring stability, not only to the region in the immediate neighborhood of Turkey, but for Turkey to play a global role in providing the kind of leadership that the world certainly does need. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I thank our gentlemen, I have a question for you all. Did you enjoy the film? Yes. I hope that you all remember from the flyer that that film was made in 1959. And some of the archival footage on it I thought was really quite spectacular, with an intimate look at Ataturk. And now I would like to thank both Ambassador Pearson and Ambassador Ricciardone for a really wonderful, wonderful evening. And may I remind you that at the back of the room, we are selling coupon booklets. That's how we sustain these kinds of lectures. So please be generous and go back and help yourself with a $20 bill and help keep the whole level of this discourse going for many, many months. But thank you all for coming, and thank you to our wonderful speakers.